Hey, it's Ryan Moody here, helping you to fish smarter, not harder. In this week's blog post, it's all about a boating tip to make sure that you actually get out to the fishing grounds in the first place. Anglers quite often overlook a number of things when it comes to boating, particularly if boats are left for long periods of time. And one of the most important things is your fuel, the quality of your fuel, and have you actually got water in there creeping through bit by bit. Anyway, I've come up to Cavs Marine in Tully, far north Queensland. I'm going to talk to one of the mechanics here, Ian, around about what happens to engines when you get water in there and what you should do to avoid it. So Ian, tell me one of the issues that people have with getting water in the fuel. What does it actually do to your motors?
Alright, if you get water through your fuel, what can happen is you can wreck injectors. Fuel pumps can seize up from water because they need fuel to lubricate them. And in extreme cases, get into the cylinders and you can blow pistons.
Now what happens if someone gets water in their fuel, but the motor is still actually running, it's spluttering and carrying on, but there's enough fuel still getting through with the water? Should they stop the engine and get a ride home, or should they come in on the slowly?
Oh, you possibly be able to get home steady, but it's probably best to shut it down and at least even maybe try and attempt to get a bit of the water out of the fuel system and go from there.
But prolonged periods would be no good because that's when it starts damaging your injectors and things like that.
Yep, especially with modern day engines. A lot of it's computer controlled and that sort of thing, so it does affect a lot of different parts,
for sure, mate. Now I guess the thing that what people overlook the most is checking their water traps. And of course in a lot of boats the fuel filters and that are hidden in compartments, and it's one of those out of sight, out of mind things. And I guess you don't know whether you've been to the servo and you've been unlucky to get the last bit, or apparently sometimes when the tankers arrive and they fill the tanks, it stirs everything up, and it's not good to get fuel directly after a tanker has actually filled the service station tanks. So what are the most important things for people to do, mate, when they want to avoid getting water in the fuel?
So we got this is a new one, of course, just out of the box. So you got a water trap here. So if you notice anything in this section, put some sort of a container under it, and then most screw left hand, and you should be able to drain the water, and you'll see it come down, and then you'll end up with nice clean fuel again.
And because you can see the colour change between the fuel and the water. So if you've got a little bit of clear stuff on the bottom, that's your water, and that's what you want to get rid of.
For sure.
Cool.
So, as you can see here, we've got a water trap and a filter that we emptied out of a boat on a service today, and it's quite clear to see how much water was actually still in that.
Wow, that's amazing. And I guess as soon as that water trap fills up to a certain level, that's when it's forced into the motor, isn't it?
It will bypass through the filter and then get sucked through
into the motor.
Engine,
so people must check it regularly, particularly if their boat's out in the weather after a good wet season. If they're not using it.
We do see boats with fuel caps. If the O-rings on the caps perish, they will let water into tanks. So
I've been pretty lucky over the years. I've been a charter boat operator for 30 years and spending all that time on the water. It was one of those things I'd do, you know, every month or two. I'd always check me water traps, you know, and I had very little problems over the years, but I actually got caught out recently. Had the boat out in all that heavy rain we had up here, and didn't really think about it, and I didn't check the water trap for a month or so, and sure enough we're heading out the other day, and I must have had a whole heap go through it. And that's the first time in all my life that I've actually had an issue with water. And I didn't really drop the ball for that long. I only left it go for a month and a half, you know. And I was just unlucky that that's what happened. You know, I picked up a whole bunch of water at the wrong time. So, so it's one of those little hidden things that people should really take the time to check on a regular basis.
Another thing too, we get people that boats sit down for a long time. So if they want to run a fuel stabiliser, they supposedly say has a shelf life of about 6 weeks. Maybe longer. That's sort of what they talk about. So fuel stabilisers are definitely worth it if you know your boat's going to sit any longer.
Any length of time.
Say even 3 months.
Because it's not just water in your fuel, it's also stale fuel. Can cause issues as well.
So stale fuel, most of your 4-stroke engines and your direct injected 2-strokes, when it gets to a certain age, they won't run on it.
Cool. Excellent. Well, that's a good little tip for everybody out there. So get onto that if you're going to leave your boat sitting for any length of time. Now earlier we were talking about injectors. So with the injectors, what actually happens is that the water getting in there and causing damage through sitting? Is it rust and corrode? Is that the most important thing that happens?
One of the most important things too, and injectors also require that fuel to cool.
To cool, yeah, yeah. And a lot of injectors these days need very clean fuel.
Yes.
So that's very important. Well, people should get there, not just check the water traps, but change their filters too, I guess, because I do know a lot of people, mates of mine, who do let their filters go way too long.
Yeah.
And that's another issue. You can get all sorts of problems with blocking filters too.
So with 4 strokes and 2 strokes these days, they have got other filters apart from your boat filter and your main one you can visually see on an engine.
Yeah.
So I know with some engines, some models, they do them every 1,000 hours, some every 500, depending on what sort of work they're doing. So.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. So basically it all comes down to a bit of maintenance, mate, and there's a number of issues that people suffer from, which is just not through sheer neglect, really. It's just forgetfulness, really, isn't it?
Yep.
Those little things that are out of the way that people don't even think about. So, and this is one of them. Keeping your fuel clean, keeping your water traps clear, and having a good engine to get you out to those fishing spots. Anyway, mate, thanks for having a chat to us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll catch up again and see if we can solve a few other problems.
No worries at all.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
So it's important, as you can see, to keep your fuel systems clean so that you get the best out of your motors and no issues on the water. So if you like this little tip and you'd like to see more, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, or if you only want some special tips I send out by email only, head on over to our website www.ryanmoodyfishing.com and sign up for free email updates. Get into the great outdoors, keep fishing smarter and boating smarter, and we'll see you next time.